Hey everyone, tonight we begin with the extraordinary life of Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary Japanese swordsman, artist, and philosopher whose relentless spirit helped define the samurai ethos. From his undefeated duels to the wisdom he left behind in the Book of Five Rings, Musashi's legacy continues to echo through time, inspiring warriors of the sword and spirit alike. Before we dive in, feel free to like and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy this kind of content. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. I always enjoy seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe switch on a fan for some soft background ambience, and let's settle into tonight's journey. Your story begins in 1584, during what historians call a complicated period in Japan, though you, if you could speak as a newborn, might have called it complete chaos. It was the Sengoku era, also known as the Warring States period. Less about formal rituals and more about who could outmaneuver, outfight, and outbuild the others. Think of it as feudal Japan's version of a ruthless real estate competition, except losing a bid here meant losing your life. You're born in the remote village of Miyamoto, nestled in the rugged hills of Harima province. Your family isn't wealthy, no silk linens or golden rattles. Most likely, you were wrapped in coarse peasant fabric and handed a wooden spoon to block the wind. Congratulations, life has just handed you your first training tool. Your father, Shinmin Musashi, is a professional swordsman, and by professional, we mean he takes combat extremely seriously. He's stern, disciplined, and not the kind of father who tosses a ball around for fun. His version of bonding time is handing you a wooden sword and saying, "Try not to cry when you fall." Praise is rare, affection almost unheard of. But in a harsh world, tenderness is a luxury. Your father isn't raising a boy, he's shaping a weapon. From the start, there's a wildness in you. You're not the polite child, reciting verses in neat lines. You're untamed, messy, always covered in dust and cuts. While other kids play tag, you're figuring out ambush tactics behind trees. A hint of what's to come. Even as an infant, your fate seems set. You're not here for a quiet life. You're here to fight, to roam, to etch your name into legend, one duel at a time. And judging by the state of your country, there will be no shortage of opportunities. Your childhood playground isn't a grassy field. It's the packed dirt of Miyamoto Village, where the air smells of fire, steel, and horses. While other kids fall asleep to bedtime stories, your lullabies are tales of warriors splitting foes in a single strike. Your crib mobile, probably a few rusted blades dangling dangerously overhead. As soon as you can stagger upright like a tiny drunken soldier, Musashi hands you practice swords. While others learn to draw characters, you're taught to block a killing blow. There are no consolation prizes here. Lose a sparring match, and you earn a bruise and a hard lesson. Hesitation means death. Musashi, it's said, won formal duels under the Ashikaga shogunate, but parenting was never his strong suit. His affection is blunt and tactical. Praise might come once, maybe, if you manage to stay standing. Otherwise, silence, because to him, staying alive is all the validation you need. And somehow, under that harsh upbringing, something in you thrives. While other boys dream of feasts and titles, you dream of the rhythm of battle, of anticipating an opponent's strike before it comes. The sword isn't just a weapon to you. It's an extension of your will, a steel pulse in your hand. You're not comforted. You're carved into form, sharpened daily like steel on stone. Even as a boy, you learn the brutal truth. Victory isn't about raw power. It's about speed, insight, and a touch of cruelty. Villagers talk about you, the wild boy with the sharp stare and the unsettling calm. Some shake their heads, some nod in quiet approval. But by your early teens, it's clear you're no ordinary child. Something far more dangerous is beginning to emerge. At 13, while others worry about fishing or spelling lessons, you prepare to engage in a deadly duel. Welcome to feudal Japan, where adolescence includes lethal combat. A traveling samurai named Arima Kihei arrives in town, representing the local martial arts school. He's overconfident and dismisses the idea of a village boy challenging him. Big mistake. Word spreads fast Musashi is going to fight a real samurai. Villagers gather, murmuring and wagering. Even your own family looks on with concern, expecting to see you defeated. But you have no intention of losing. You're 13. Fierce, and armed with a wooden sword that still smells like firewood. Hardly legendary gear, but that won't matter. Kihei, like most veterans, underestimates you. Maybe it's your age or your ragged appearance. Second big mistake. Before he can react, you charge fast, unrefined, but deadly. The duel ends in seconds. Kihei is on the ground, bleeding and humiliated. A grown samurai beaten by a barefoot teenager wielding a stick. You don't just win, you send a message. The name Musashi is one to remember. Your father's response is complicated. Perhaps there's pride, maybe even relief, but also fear. Even Musashi now sees that the boy he forged may exceed his own expectations. As for you, you feel clarity. You weren't born to farm or serve. You were born to fight, to rise, to overcome. And deep within, you know, this won't be the last blood drawn. After such a victory, most might expect a stable life to follow, an apprenticeship, maybe a steady trade, but not you. At 15, you make a bold choice one even grown men fear. You leave home, no farewells, no supplies, just a sword, a worn-out cloak, and a fierce refusal to be shaped by anyone else's vision. You become a Ronin, a masterless wanderer. In a world where allegiance means survival, you choose none. Like walking into a job fair and flipping the table, you vanish into the wilderness. Why? Because you know the truth. Tying yourself to someone else's rules would cost you the warrior's path you seek. Life on the road isn't glorious. You sleep under trees. You eat what you find rice if you're lucky, bark if not. Your companions? Crows, stray dogs, and the occasional curious child wondering aloud why you look like you haven't bathed in ages. But it doesn't matter. The wild becomes your training ground. Rivers refine your senses. The cold teaches patience. Every mile strips away the remnants of childhood. The muddy-footed boy fades. The determined teen who bested a samurai remains in, and he is changing. You start visiting dojos, challenging their best, absorbing every lesson, every duel. Your technique sharpens rapidly to stay unnoticed. Soon, people begin whispering your name in quiet inns and along dusty trails. There's a wild Ronin out there, young, fierce, and faster than most can follow, and somewhere on those endless roads, a deeper realization forms. Maybe the sword isn't just for survival. Maybe it's a path to something greater. You just need to keep walking. If there's one thing that sets you apart from other samurai, it's this. You don't fit the mold. While they walk into towns with slicked hair, shining armor, and blades displayed like trophies, you are different. And that, more than anything, is why your legend begins. Meanwhile, you show up looking like you just fought a bear and maybe even won. Your hair's a mess, your clothes are torn, stained, or half missing, your feet are muddy, calloused, and toughened by the road. You're not the polished image of a samurai noble. You're something rarer and more unsettling. You don't resemble a warrior from the court. You look like a wild animal that learned to walk upright and somehow picked up a sword. And people notice, they notice at first. They laugh. You look more like someone chasing chickens than challenging elite warriors. But the laughter quickly fades into confusion and then into fear. Because when you draw your sword and start to move, all that mud, scruff, and wild energy transforms into precision. No wasted movement, no hesitation, just raw, calculated violence executed like a predator in your duels. You don't waste time with formality or ceremony. You go straight for the win, quick, direct, and decisive. It's not dishonorable, it's survival. You understand that battles aren't about elegant moves, they're about who's still standing. When it's over, while the polished samurai adjusts his helmet, you're already inside his defense, shattering his pride along with his stance. Whispers start to follow you from village to village. He fights like a demon. He doesn't fight for honor. He fights to survive. If you see him, run. You become a walking legend, spoken of over cheap sake and campfires. But reputation isn't your goal. Fame doesn't interest you. You care about one thing, becoming sharper, stronger, better. Because deep down, you know the world doesn't spare the weak. Only the fiercest endure. With the road as your home and your sword as your constant, you dive into your new obsession, seeking out challengers. Some people collect seashells, you collect victories, often before midday. The process is simple. Enter a new town, find the local dojo or the most arrogant fighter. Challenge them, win, and move on. You're like a human storm, leaving behind broken pride and bruised bodies. If Japan had a tourism department, there would be signs. Caution, wild Ronin may appear, and the truth is, no one knows how to deal with you. You're unpredictable, unpolished. You don't follow the manual. you ever saw one to begin with. No ornate armor, no repeated bows, no waiting for someone to compose a haiku before the duel begins. You evaluate, strike, wing clean and unceremonious. Sometimes you fight with a real sword, other times with a wooden one. There's even a story that you once beat a man senseless with a random stick you found nearby, because for you, it's never been about the weapon, it's about the mind using it. And yours? As sharp and dangerous as any blade, each duel teaches you more, not just about technique, but about people. You read fear in shaky hands. You spot hesitation in widened eyes. You notice how pride makes them predictable. You're not just breaking their defenses, you're breaking their confidence. By your late teens, your win record is absurd: more victories than birthdays, more opponents than types of sake, but you never stick around to enjoy it. No trophies, no cheering crowds. You just nod, maybe mumble something vague, and move on to the next road, the next test, the next insight, because by now, it's clear, you're not fighting for survival anymore. You're fighting because it's transforming you into something relentless, something even you are only beginning to understand. By the time you're in your late teens, your reputation has taken on a life of its own. People describe you somewhere between a prodigy and a terrifying figure who might chew nails for breakfast. But what really sets you apart isn't just your success rate, it's your refusal to follow tradition. You don't swear loyalty to any lord. You don't align with a dojo or pledge to a war band. You remain proudly and stubbornly a Ronin, the samurai with no master. In a world where allegiance defines identity, this is equivalent to showing up at a royal dinner in filthy clothes and challenging the host to an arm wrestling match. Traditional samurai look at you with disapproval. No master, no sponsor, no set place in the world. You must be crazy, but what they don't see is what you do have. Freedom. Freedom is your greatest weapon. Without someone to impress, you focus entirely on your craft. Without political obligations, you train rather than flatter. With no estate to protect, you travel light and move fast. Sure, it's a tough life. No luxury armor, no quiet tea gatherings, often no consistent meals. 1 week, you survive on radishes and questionable river fish, but in return, you get something priceless: the ability to evolve, to move past the outdated boundaries of tradition. You grow because you have to, and that makes you dangerous. Lords and generals try to recruit you. They offer gold, land, silk, even marriages. Though, considering your unkempt look and ever-present smell of smoke, it's unclear if those proposals are serious or just hopeful. Still, each time, you decline, with a short bow, barely, and a refusal, because your path isn't paved in wealth. It's marked by discipline, hardship, and growth. You're not aiming to be someone's servant. You're seeking mastery of combat, of strategy, and possibly of yourself. You are Miyamoto Musashi without a master, without fear, and only getting started. Somewhere between your 100th duel and your 1000th mosquito bite, sleeping under a starlit sky, something shifts. You start to understand fighting isn't just about strength or speed. It's about perception. The sword is surface level. Beneath it is a silent conversation, fights, pressure, rhythm, timing, fear. Victory doesn't go to the quickest or strongest. It goes to the one who understands first. So your perspective changes. Now, when you size up an opponent, you look deeper. You study how they carry stress in their body, how they flinch at the wind, how their eyes betray their intent before they act. You start to predict before the fight begins. Not with magic, but with observation, because a duel is often decided the moment your opponent doubts themselves, the moment they feel exposed and you feel in control. At this point, you're not fighting people anymore. You're dismantling their resolve. While others rehearse old forms, you're building something new. You turn dueling into strategy played at lightning speed. Sometimes it's over before your opponent realizes it's begun. A shift in your posture, a grin, real or not, a motion that breaks the rules, and suddenly they're down, not because you hit harder, but because you were already one step ahead. They never had a chance. You begin to see all of life this way. Every moment, every decision, it's all timing, positioning, knowing when to wait and when to act. The sword is a tool. Your true weapon is your mind, and through relentless challenge, it becomes sharper than steel. Then, somewhere along the road, bruised and mosquito-bitten, you ask, why stop at one sword? Why not two? To swords, one in each hand. A concept that makes traditionalists scoff while adjusting their armor and rituals. But you don't have that luxury. You have to survive. So you start experimenting. Katana in one hand, wakizashi in the other. At first, it's chaos. You drop swords. You trip over yourself. You even accidentally strike your own leg. But over time, something shifts. The awkward movements become fluid. One hand blocks, the other strikes. The rhythm becomes natural. You invent your own style in each of you. Not rigid, not ceremonial. Practical, adaptive, deadly, and the best part, no one knows how to fight you. Single-blade opponents are outmatched. Spearmen are thrown off. Archers rarely get a chance. Your enemies expect one attack. You bring two. They brace for a duel. You bring a storm. Traditionalists scoff, muttering about how you disrespect old forms, but you don't hear them. You're the focus to alive in the moment. You're not dueling for style. You're carving a new path through a rigid world. A path that favors change over legacy to swords. One goal, victory, and you're just getting started. By now, your name carries weight. You're known as the storm that appears, topples the local champion, and disappears before the ink dries on a bragging banner. But even storms need greater challenges. That's where the Yoshioka school comes in. They're not some roadside dojo. They're elite, influential. Their name holds weight in Kyoto, the cultural and political heart of Japan, a city of refined manners, silk robes, and large egos. The Yoshioka aren't just teaching swordsmanship, they're an institution. Taking them on is like crashing an opera and outshining the lead act, which, of course, sounds exactly like something you do. So, you walk into Kyoto dusty, determined, and probably still smelling of wood smoke, and challenge Yoshioka Seer, the head of the school. Seer, proud and confident that you're just a wild vagabond with a death wish, accepts the challenge. The duel is set. Formalities are arranged. Most assume this will be a quick, humiliating defeat for you, a public reminder that true warriors don't lose to undisciplined Ronin. Everyone expects that outcome. Everyone except you. When the duel begins, there's no dramatic speech, no ceremonial posturing, just you, calm and steady, facing a symbol of high society swordsmanship. And when the time comes, you don't hesitate. You break through his guard. Like a storm crashing through paper walls, Seer is defeated not gracefully, not respectfully, but decisively. The once proud master lies broken before his students, his patrons, and Kyoto's ever-watchful crowd. And you don't stay to bask in attention. You adjust your worn cloak and disappear into the back streets. Because to you, this isn't the end. It's just one more step. The Yoshio school may be shaken, but you know they won't let this go unanswered, and you're ready. The Yoshio clan doesn't handle disgrace well. Being defeated by a wild Ronin, someone who probably sleeps nearer to animals than silk sheets, is more than a blow to their pride. It's a deep wound. Naturally, they respond as proud institutions do when humiliated. They escalate. Enter danger. Seer's brother, bigger, angrier, and less patient. He demands a duel, desperate to restore the family's name and, preferably, eliminate you in the process. The city buzzes with curiosity. Another Musashi fight. Will the scruffy swordsman finally fall? Will honor be avenged? Has anyone brought sake? You're as composed as ever. If Danger believes rage alone will win, he hasn't been paying attention. On the day of the duel, the crowd gathers. Bets fly. Vendors grill fish for spectators. Danger enters like a human storm cloud, armed and full of fury. You arrive in worn sandals and plain clothes, eyes quietly scanning, already calculating several possible endings, most of them subtly insulting. The duel begins. Danger charges in, fast and forceful, aiming to overpower you. You stay just out of reach, reading his approach like a poorly written script. Within moments, it's over. A single clean strike. Danger drops. Kyoto gasps, some cheer, some pale. The Yoshio's last hope has collapsed in front of everyone. You give no speeches, no triumphant displays. You simply turn and walk away. Steady as ever, a force of nature that doesn't need to justify itself. But you know this isn't over. Not yet. The Yoshio have one final move to play, and it's far from honorable. Public failure stings. Public disgrace burns. After losing 2 heirs to your sword, the Yoshio school is on the edge of ruin. They face a choice: accept defeat with grace, or throw away whatever honor remains in one final gamble. They choose the latter. They announce a third duel, but this one's a trap. The new head of the family, Matashira, a young boy barely old enough to grow a beard, is set up as bait. while dozens of hidden warriors prepare to ambush you. The goal? Eliminate you completely and reclaim their dignity in one blow. It's not fair. But fairness exited the scene to brothers ago. What makes you different is that you see it coming. You can sense the trap before it's even laid. So, you arrive early before the ambushers are ready, before anyone's in position. You move like mist, quiet and direct. Your sword is already drawn. Madashir doesn't even have time to cry out before he's struck down. Clean, swift, done. Chaos erupts. Dozens of Yoshio fighters rush from hiding, blades drawn, shouting your name, but you don't hesitate. You move calm, fast, efficient. You slip through their formation, cut through confusion, and vanish into the twilight before they can organize. By the time they understand what's happened, you're gone. A rumor on the wind. The once proud Yoshio skull crumbles into disgrace, and you don't stop to celebrate. You keep walking, because for Miyamoto Musashi, it's never been about revenge, it's always been about refinement. And refinement requires more than victory, it demands evolution. With the Yoshio shattered, and your name echoing across the provinces, your legend ignites. But it's not awe that follows its fear. You're no longer just a swordsman. You're something else. Something harder to predict, harder to face. Word spreads like fire. Musashi doesn't just win, he breaks legacies. One Musashi is worth a battalion. See a disheveled man with 2 swords and a hint of river mud. Leave immediately. And here's the strange part, it's not far from the truth. Armies might stand a better chance than individual fighters. One-on-one duels, child's play, ambushes, ineffective. Even trained groups struggle to keep up. Yes, your skills are unmatched. Your technique, your awareness, your speed there, all at the peak. But your true edge lies in psychology. Most challengers lose before they even unsheath their swords. They've heard the tales. A boy who beat a grown warrior at 13. The lone Ronin who humiliated the Yoshio. They step into the ring already shaken. In fear. That's more powerful than steel. Sometimes you win without lifting your blade. One look steady, cold, certain that your opponent breaks. Some surrender, others flee. A few charge, only to learn. Too late, they're facing a force beyond their understanding. You're no longer just Musashi the duelist. You're Musashi the storm. And as you continue walking the worn paths of Japan, it becomes clear, no group, no army, no trap will stop you now. With the Yoshio defeated and your reputation soaring, you could have taken the easy path, accept a lord's offer, take a title, enjoy the comforts of power. But you don't. You return to the road, because you know something important. Castles, no matter how grand, are still cages. And so begins the next long, dusty stretch of your life, the years of wandering. You drift from one province to another, following no map, only one purpose, the pursuit of mastery. Wherever you go, you look for opponents, styles, ideas. It doesn't matter who they are, monks, bandits, sword masters. If they know something, you don't. You want to learn through combat. Sometimes you challenge them. Sometimes they challenge you. Sometimes it just happens, say, over a stolen rice ball. Travel is unpredictable, but it shapes you. You adapt, refine, and evolve. You don't fight for money or glory. You fight to become. Each opponent is a mirror, showing you your limits, and each time you surpass them, you grow sharper. Your clothes become rougher, your sword faster, your mind deadlier. People start telling wild stories about you. Musashi fought 3 men using only a fan. Musashi defeated a master spearman with a broken fishing pole. Musashi once stared down a bear until it walked away. Are these true? Maybe, maybe not. You don't correct anyone. You're not polishing your legacy. You're sharpening your spirit. And if the road leads you into deep forests, across icy rivers, through desolate passes, so be it. The road is your home now. The horizon, your only guide. While others tie themselves to lords and bloodlines, you tie yourself to the blade and to the endless quest for something deeper than victory. And slowly, you sense you're getting closer. As seasons blur and the journey wears on, something new stirs inside you. Not ambition, not bloodlust. Something quieter, a pull towards something more meaningful. Art. It starts small. After long days of training or travel, you reach for a brush instead of a sword. At first, your calligraphy is chaotic like a cat ran through ink. But like with the blade, you don't expect mastery overnight. You pursue it through patience, focus, and constant effort. Soon, you're painting landscapes, mountains, birds in flight, rivers winding through valleys. Each stroke mirrors the precision of your sword. You realize that the same focus that guides your blade guides your brush. Swordplay and art aren't opposites, they're reflections. Both demand presence. Both require balance. Both ask you to see clearly, then leave your mark with confidence. It doesn't stop at painting. You carve wood. You study poetry. You perform tea ceremonies with a tactician's care. You dive into Zen and philosophy. You become an unusual figure warrior who could defeat 10 men before breakfast and paint a cherry blossom branch by lunch. Some laugh. Some shake their heads. But you don't mind, because you see what they don't. Single quotes. Victory is fleeting. Mastery is lasting. A sword wins a fight or leaves something behind. And you know a deeper truth. Someday, your body will fail. Your hand will. Slow. The duels will end. But your thoughts, your spirit, your vision, those can remain. Through ink, through wood, through words. You're no longer just a warrior. You're becoming something more. A creator. Leaving your mark on the world. One deliberate, graceful stroke at a time. And as you sit beside a quiet river, brush in hand, a faint smile touches your lips. The path is broader than you ever imagined, and it's only just begun. In your 30s now, leaving behind a trail of defeated challengers like footprints across a battlefield. A new name begins to surface, Sasaki Kajiro. At first, it's just murmurs and smoky inns, and along dusty roads a man with a sword like a lightning bolt. So long he could swat a bird mid-flight. Like you, he's undefeated. You're not easily impressed by reputations. After all, you are the reputation that others fear in their sleep. But Kajiro is different. He's not some overconfident dojo master waiting to be exposed. He's not a desperate noble's guard, clinging to the past. He's fast, precise, lethal, and he wields a sword so absurdly long. The Monohoshizeo, the dry and pole. You wonder if he's overcompensating. Not that you'd say that aloud. Kajiro's swallow cut is legendary, graceful, sudden, impossible to read. He's not just skilled. He's something rare, a reflection of you, but refined, polished, and in a way that excites you. Finally, a real adversary, not another self-important fool to humiliate, not another pack of amateurs to outmaneuver. Someone who might truly push you, someone who might shape you in ways no other duel ever has. Eventually, you hear that Kajiro has accepted a prestigious position of fencing master for a powerful lord. High status, good pay, elegant robes. You, meanwhile, are still sleeping in barns, using your cloak as both blanket and napkin. But that doesn't bother you, because men like you and Kajiro aren't meant to coexist peacefully. You're meant to collide. The rumors swell like a coming storm, to undefeated warriors, to masters of combat, to living legends. But only one path forward, and beneath your calm exterior, something stirs again. The fire rekindles, the blade hums. You know what's coming, and you're ready. The challenge arrives not with fanfare, but in solemn words passed by cautious messengers. Sasaki Kajiro agrees to meet. No politics, no armies, just two men, two blades, and an unspoken promise hanging in the air. The duel is set for a rocky island in the Kamen Straits, Ganryujima. Isolated, level, iconic, almost as if the gods themselves chose it. You receive the news with your usual quiet. Others would fret, sharpen swords, write farewell letters. You simply nod. The challenge is accepted. Still, you prepare, though not in the way people expect. No sleepless nights polishing weapons. No ornate battle clothes. No elaborate death poems. Your hair remains wild. Your garments simple. Instead, you focus your mind. You study Kajiro like a hunter observes a predator. You learn his timing, his distance, his rhythm. Mid-range, his comfort zone. Good, because you've already decided you won't fight him at his strength. You'll change the game. You request a small boat for the duel. During the trip, you carve a wooden sword of bakken from an oar. Its length matches Kajiro's blade. No polished steel, no flash, just raw wood and intent. Because you understand what many don't. Victory doesn't rely on the finest weapon. It comes from the sharpest mind. As the boat glides toward the island, the wind in your face, you feel it, that stillness before chaos. The tension between the great forces about to meet, and you smile. Not because you seek survival, but because you seek to win. The boat thuds against Ganryujima's shore. You step out, holding the crude wooden blade. Across the sand, Kajiro waits tall, poised, immaculate. His famed Monohoshizeo rests at his side. A blade so long it looks better suited for a ship than a duel. He's calm, elegant, prepared, and you look like you stumbled out of a tavern after a rough night. Onlookers murmur, some laugh, some sneer. You're late, you're disrespectful, you brought a stick. Kojiro frowns. He's irritated off balance. Good. That was your plan. Your delay wasn't arrogance. It was strategy to stabilize him before the fight begins. Because you know something many forget. A duel is often won before the first swing. When the opponent loses control of their thoughts, Kojiro, visibly tense, draws his blade in one flawless motion. His signature move, the swallow cut, is set to split a bird mid-flight. It's fast, surgical, lethal, but something changes, a tiny hesitation, thrown off by your ragged appearance. Your confidence, the absurdity of your weapon, and that blink of uncertainty is all you need. You move quick, deliberate. Your wooden blade slices the air with precision. One clean, decisive strike. The crack echoes. Kojiro collapses. Just like that dot, the beach falls silent. Mouths hang open. Even the gulls seem frozen. You lower your weapon, breathing steady, heart calm. Another duel, another win. But something is different this time. He wasn't just another fighter. Today, you didn't just defeat an opponent. You ended something much larger. The waves lap quietly at the blood-salted shore. The breeze hesitates, as if unsure how to move forward. You stand beside Kojiro's body, your wooden blade still warm in your hand. The victory is complete and questionable. But as the tension fades, a strange weight settles in. Everyone watches you retainers, samurai, fishermen. They stare like they're seeing a ghost. Not a man. There are no cheers, no celebration, just silence. A heavy, uneasy silence that clings to your skin. This wasn't just a duel. This was the duel. Kojiro, the only one they thought could match you, is gone. Broken like a snap fan. And suddenly, you understand something you hadn't before. At a certain level, there are no rivals, no equals. Only a cold summit, and you standing alone. Without ceremony, you turn and walk away, leaving behind the stares, the whispers, the legends that are already beginning to grow. As you step into the boat, the wooden or turned blade bumps against the side, awkward and out of place, just like how you feel. The boatman rows silently. You stare back at the shrinking island, a place where the destinies clashed, and only one remained. Ganryujima will forever carry your name. Poets will immortalize it. Scribes will embellish it. Strangers will debate it in inns you'll never visit. But for you, there's no joy, no pride, only something irreversible. The path ahead isn't about glory anymore. It's about meaning. The water shimmers, the oar creaks. The wind carries your name, and you wonder quietly, what's left to face? When you've already conquered everything? Kojiro's death doesn't fade with the waves. It lingers, more weight than triumph. You tell yourself it's just another duel, another win. But you know better. Because Kojiro wasn't a fraud. He wasn't arrogant. He wasn't weak. He was a true swordsman, a mirror of your own path. And now he's gone, not just in body, but in spirit. You broke something that might have stood beside you if life had been kinder. People celebrate. Of course, they retell the story in 100 forms. Musashi arrived late to throw Kojiro off. Musashi carved a sword from an oar just to mock him. Musashi struck before Kojiro could blink. The tales get bigger, more absurd. By next month, they'll say you rode a whale and fought with a tree trunk. You hear the stories. Some make you smile, but deep down, it all feels hollow. Kojiro's death closed a door you didn't know was open, and behind it was a world you now realize you can't return to. The world seems smaller now, duller, because you know there are few left who can meet you as he did. Few who can share that dance on the edge of mortality. You didn't just defeat Kojiro, you outlasted him. And somehow, that feels heavier. At night, beside a fire, you replay the duel in your mind. Not with guilt, but with quiet respect. Kojiro was your greatest challenge. Now he's a shadow, destined to walk beside you forever. The road stretches ahead, longer, quieter, and you start to see, the more victories you collect, the more isolation they bring. It's not death that haunts you, it's the silence they leave behind. After Ganryujima, people call you unstoppable, the one who killed Sasaki Kojiro, the Ronin without fear, the legend in human form. If for all the admiration, for all the tales that drift in your wake, you feel nothing. Victory once burned, bright, a fire fueled by challenge and growth. Now it dims, the hunger feels absent. You wander through towns where children pretend to be you, waving sticks and shouting your name in inns. Drunk men toast you with wild stories. Musashi fought 10 men and didn't spill his tea. Musashi sliced a falling leaf midair. Musashi defeated a whole school with a stare. You nod politely, you drink, you smile, but inside, it tastes like ash. The duels were never about fame. They were about the pursuit, endless, difficult, beautiful, and now the path feels hollow. You used to dream of worthy challengers. Now, you dream of quiet streams and empty trails. Because there's no one left to chase, the world feels too small. You watch other warriors polish armor, chase titles, curry favor, and you feel like a wolf among pets. You don't belong in courts or under banners. You belong outside all places, and none. Victory, you realize, is a strange death. The death of striving, of desire. You've won too much, and the cost is solitude. A solitude no crowd or song can fill. So, you keep walking not toward conquest, but toward something softer, something distant. A mastery not of others but of yourself. The road still stretches ahead, but your steps begin to slow, not from age. Your body is strong. Your reflex is sharp. It's something deeper, a voice barely heard, whispering. The battles you need to face now are within. You begin stepping away from the life of constant duels. Not out of fear, but because winning no longer nourishes you. You've defeated giants, outmatched legends. Now the final opponent is yourself. You spend more time in silence, days, weeks, alone in mountains and forests. No onlookers, no challengers, just wind, water, sky. The sword remains at your side, but you draw it less. Instead, you draw ink. You carve wood not to harm, but to shape. The discipline once used to end lives now turns inward, refining your spirit. You studies then not in temples, but in solitude. You meditate under waterfalls. You fast until you feel weightless. You sit still for hours until time becomes meaningless. And slowly, you come to understand. Mastery isn't control, it's harmony. It's knowing when to act and when not to. The perfect duel, you see, isn't the one you win. It's the one you never have to fight. Conflict is a wave. True mastery is stepping aside before it breaks. The wild wolf who once tore through Japan's strongest still lives within you, but now he rests, not caged, not broken, just calm, not out of fear but out of understanding. People still come, young challengers, aging masters. Some you face, some you send away with a glance, and at both, you are victorious. Because the hardest battle of all, the one for your own soul, is finally when you're beginning to win. Eventually, even the open road feels too crowded, even the mountains too loud. You need something quieter, a place beyond the reach of distractions, fame, memory, even ambition. So you withdraw into a cave. Not a grand temple, not a hilltop fortress. Just a plain, cold, damp cave carved into the side of a lonely mountain. Its name is Rigando Spirit Rock Cave. Fitting. You bring little, a few scrolls, ink, a brush, your swords, of course, but they remain untouched, collecting dust as days quietly become months. Inside these stone walls, you are no longer Musashi the warrior. You are Musashi the student, a student of silence, of death, of life itself. The cave teaches you in ways the sword never did. It teaches patience, the kind that wears through stone, one drop at a time. It teaches humility, as even the spiders overhead seem wiser than all the noise of human ambition. But above all, it teaches perspective. For the first time, you see the duels, the victories, the shattered schools and humbled lords for what they were, shadows on the wall. The real battle was always internal. In the dim light, you write with urgency essays on strategy, on thought, on the void that connects everything. Each word fights against ignorance, each sentence pushes back against ego. Your brush becomes your new weapon to liberate, sharp, uncompromising. In the quiet of Regondo, you finally hear the deeper rhythm beneath the clash of steel, the rhythm of mastery, balance, and understanding. People still seek you out, curious students, ambitious fighters, pilgrims hoping to glimpse a legend. Some you meet with kindness, others you turn away with hard truths, but mostly you remain alone, and you're content with that, because now you know that real strength isn't about defeating others. It's about mastering the one thing that matters most, yourself. And deep within this stone silence, you are slowly winning your greatest duel, one breath at a time. Inside the cold quiet of Regondo Cave, with the wind whispering at the entrance like an old friend, you make a choice. It's time to pass on what you've learned not through combat, but through writing. You sit cross-legged on the stone floor, brush in hand, ink ready, and begin. The Book of Five Rings, not a diary, not a list of your victories, a guide. Sword manual, yes, but also a roadmap for mastering conflict-hand life. You divide your teachings into 5 scrolls, each one based on an element: earth, water, fire, wind, void. Each layer builds on the one before, creating a system for anyone seeking real understanding. The Earth Book Foundation, stability, knowing your stance in battle and in life. The Water Book, adaptability, moving with obstacles instead of fighting them head on. The Fire Book, aggression, timing, understanding when to act with decisive force. The Wind Book, perspective, learning from others not to imitate, but to better know yourself. The Void Book, the most elusive of all, the space between thought and action. The pure state of awareness where true mastery resides. You write plainly, no flourish, no ego. Truth doesn't need decoration. Every line is hammered out like a blade tested, sharp and forged through experience. You don't write for fame or praise. You write because what you've learned is too valuable to vanish. With you, each stroke of the brush feels like breathing life into a version of yourself that will outlast. The body. You know most will misinterpret it. Some will skim it. A few might grasp its depth. That's enough, because mastery was never for the masses. It's a narrow road walked by the few willing to endure, to sharpen themselves against the world until they become blades in human form. As you finish the final line, you set your brush down and smile. Your greatest duel is complete. Your legacy is sealed. The seasons shift outside the cave, leaves fall, rivers freeze, blossoms return, and you feel it deep within. The end is near. Not some enemy to outwit, not a sudden blow to block, just the one opponent no blade can cut: death. You welcome it the same way you've greeted all your opponents, with calm, respect, and no fear. Your once strong body is slower now. The hand that once wrote legends into the air now shakes slightly as it lifts the brush. The roads you walked effortlessly now weigh heavier with each step, but your mind, clearer than ever. You don't cling to life like a miser to coins. You don't rage against time. Instead, you prepare the way only a true warrior can, deliberately, with care. You plan your death as you plan your duels, with awareness, with dignity. You put on your finest clothes, not the garments of status, but plain, clean attire fit for a man with nothing left to prove. You sit cross-legged, your swords beside. You, one hand resting on your katana, the other on your wakizashi, not to fight, but to honor them. These blades have served you through countless battles. They deserve to witness your last breath. A few students, the ones you trust, gather quietly outside. They don't cry, they don't mourn, they understand. This is not a death of loss. This is a death of mastery. You close your eyes. Inhale the crisp mountain air. Feel the earth beneath. You feel the blood slow in your veins. No fear, no regret, just peace. With one final breath, you sit motionless and pass from this world silent, composed, complete, a warrior until the end. No drama, no desperate grip on life, just stillness, just strength. Miyamoto Musashi dies as he lived, undefeated, unbroken, untamed, and as your spirit slips beyond. Somewhere far away, 1,000 cherry blossoms float on the wind, and the sword goes quiet. Long after your body fades into the earth, your name endures. It clings to the mountains. It rides the rivers. It echoes in the minds of warriors and scholars alike. Miyamoto Musashi, the man who followed no rules but his own, who turned the blade into art and solitude into a home. Your story is told again and again, sometimes grand, sometimes strange. They say you fought 100 men alone. They say you could cut a bird mid-flight with a wooden sword. Some even claim you weren't born of woman, but of the storm itself. You who once slept beneath trees with only your swords, and your will now live on in brushstrokes and books, in paintings, in novels, in plays. The Book of Five Rings becomes a treasure, not only for warriors, but for leaders, thinkers, and seekers everywhere. In a changing world, your principles remain clear. Observe fully, act decisively, move like water, strike with certainty, and know yourself completely. You become more than a swordsman. You become a symbol, mirror of the struggle between instinct and discipline. A reminder that true mastery isn't about defeating the world, but mastering the chaos within. Statues are built in your honor. Swords bear your name. You appear in games, comics, films, your spirit reborn in ways you never imagined, but none of it fully captures the truth. Because the real Musashi wasn't just a man with two swords standing victorious over enemies. The real Musashi was the man in the cave, brush in hand, writing words for a world he would never see. The one who understood that strength without wisdom is empty, that life without reflection is a dull blade. You are more than your victories, more than your battles. You are a question, a challenge, a mirror for anyone brave enough to walk the lone dot. And as centuries pass, as empires rise and fall, one truth remains. Your story still whispers to those ready to hear it. Walk the path, face yourself, become more, and in the stillness between heartbeats, somewhere, the spirit of Musashi smiles. If someone were to ask, centuries later, what was Musashi's greatest lesson? They might expect stories of swordsmanship, of technique, of dueling brilliance. And they wouldn't be wrong, but they wouldn't be right either. Because your greatest lesson wasn't how to win fights. It was how to live and how to face death without fear. You showed that mastery isn't about defeating others. It's about overcoming weakness within, fear of failure, hunger for praise, the desire for comfort and certainty. You taught that the true path is often walked alone, without recognition, without guarantees. That you must be your own teacher, your own rival, your own flame in the darkness. Through your battles, through your solitude, through the fierce simplicity of your life, you revealed a lasting truth. Strength without purpose is hollow, skill without spirit is empty, victory without honor is meaningless. The fights, the blood, the reputations, they were only echoes of a greater conflict. The real enemy was always inside. The doubts, the fear, the illusions, and you defeated them not with force but with clarity, with patience, and with ruthless honesty. The Book of Five Rings is not a manual for killing. It's a guide for living strategically, courageously, truthfully. Even now, when a young fighter ties their gloves, or a weary soul stands at a crossroads, or someone searches for quiet meaning in a loud world, your spirit is there. Not loud, not boastful, just present, at the edge of the path, nodding quietly as if to say, everything you need is already within. Now go. Your life was a battle. Your death was a meditation. And your legacy a quiet call through time to all who dare listen. Be like Musashi, not because he never lost, not because he never feared, but because every day he chose to master himself, and that was the greatest victory of all.